to continue our discussion series, we have Ambassador Praveen Verma, and we'll carry on from where we ended last week and the week before rather. And today we'll talk about the main thing in focus in the news is now the WHO resolution by 123 countries asking for a probe into this Wuhan virus, if we can call it that way. Yeah, welcome, Praveen.
Hi, Bala. Greetings on the Victoria Day. Happy Victoria Day. Greetings to you and the family and all our friends who will be listening to this. It's been a very drab day, although, but then, of course, people are enjoying outside, doing some gardening, and many of our friends who are lucky are on the golf course with their umbrellas on. Thank you for having me again over here, and we'll continue our discussions where we ended last time. So now coming to the WHO resolution, yes, this was a resolution which came into the World Health Assembly, ages of World Health Assembly, and it was actually sponsored by EU and Australia, and India also supported it right from the beginning, and it has been China has been the target, and they wanted to hold them responsible for the COVID thing. And they had this proposal of having an inquiry placed on the whatever happened at Wuhan, and they have asked WHO to inquire and to see who is responsible. Now, China has been at the forefront of every piece of attack from all parts of the world. Perhaps last, when consensus was taken, 67% of world population had said that they hold China responsible. China has generally been very aggressive on this and has been generally denying. And if you remember, the Chinese ambassador to Canada a few days ago giving an interview that they are the victim, not the culprits. And the world has to see it that way. But fortunately, the Chinese have sort of soft paddled this and have agreed. They've only said that they will agree to the resolution, agree to the investigation once the whole COVID episode is over.
I think that is
over. That is the issue which we'll have to see. But at least China has come down. Now, this could be seen as a strategy by the Chinese also to soften the impact which it was feeling of the wrath of the international media and international governments, and to secure their position, they have sort of taken a step back and have agreed. So automatically it softens everybody else's situation vis-a-vis China at this moment, and they feel like, okay, once they are going on, then there is nothing else you can talk to China at this moment, especially when they are open to supplying PPEs and pharmaceuticals and are going more than the requirement and doing it. Of course, some of them substandard quality, but then goods are coming out of China and they are finding their economy to start rolling once again. Yes.
I think this pharmaceutical products, I think most of the countries will try to halt for imports from China later. I mean, India, of course, is a big producer, but the US and other Western countries are saying they'll have to break this supply chain, this dependency on China. I think that will be a movement towards that.
Yeah, that's $1 million question. And it's not only the pharmaceuticals have been highlighted at this time, but the world has realized that the entire supply chain structure centered at one point needs to be diversified. So ultimately, the world is looking for a more multipolar situation where people are able to source the equipment or pharmaceuticals or whatever thing they need from different sources. And that is where the world economic scenario will definitely is likely to, I would not say definitely, is likely to change, because there are many countries who are waiting to pick up whatever comes out of the Chinese hold. Or the Chinese will keep on holding on to it as long as they can. Really being that because the Chinese are at present best positioned to take care of this situation. They have recovered from their pandemic. They have started, the industries have started manufacturing, and they have started exporting. Whereas the Western countries are still under the pandemic. All the major EU countries or USA are still struggling with it. Canada is more or less getting out of it. Canada and India, I feel we are concerned with these two countries, and we think that both these countries have handled the situation very well. But most of the EU countries and United States are still under the pandemic. So one will have to see how much others will be able to take out, because China has been able to have a head start straight away. They have started exporting. But other Asian countries like Taiwan and Vietnam, South Korea, and for that matter, India also, we are all well positioned to see what we can do. And if you see the reforms, the packages which our Indian finance minister has announced, the fourth package is only of reforms. One does not think it's a package for COVID, but it is essentially a reform which really opens up the economy like anything to the private sector.
Including labor laws and land acquisition.
And mining and chemical and minerals and airspace and defense production and space technology. Everything has been opened to private organizations. And in defense, of course, the PSUs, public sector units, also have been told that, okay, when the policy directive is that in defense production, in strategic areas, there'll be at least minimum 1 to 4 PSUs will be working, but the others, which are in non-strategic areas, will be handed over to private sector. So that way, there's an opening up of the economy. And this, I think, is a step which has been taken, keeping into view to see as much direct investments come in, people start producing, the Make in India starts working, because if you want to become a part of the supply chain, of the value supply chain, you have to start manufacturing and have your industries moving as soon as possible. And then, if you recall, Modi has already spoken to Trudeau, so I'm sure he would have spoken to many other head of states or head of government, and is already on the job to try to position India as an important supply chain.
I mean, I was looking at the news today. They said that I think Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Pakistan refused to ally with this group that is asking for probe against China. Only Bangladesh, of course, has withstood the pressure. They voted for investigation.
I have not seen the number of countries who are included in this one.
The SARC nations, of course, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. Yeah,
but in SARC, we generally had a solidarity. The last SARC conference, which was had virtual conference, it was Pakistan who only sent a second level minister. All other heads of state had attended. So I don't know what are the reasons, but SARC, as far as SARC minus Pakistan, has always been united, and Modi has been generally in control. Pakistan, of course, one can understand, but I think the main voting still has to be done. This was a proposal. I think this was to be done today. I think it's being done today. But passing of the resolution is no longer a problem, because it was only China who could have blocked it, and they are not blocking it at the moment. They are agreeing to it, yes. And they are not working against it also. So most probably the resolution will pass unanimously. And tomorrow we'll know anyway. Yeah.
Well, no, it's another problem that's in India. This movement of migrants. People are fleeing from their places of work. Can't say fleeing. They want to go home. There's some violence reported in Gujarat yesterday. So people are taking trucks and buses, some cycling. I mean, how do we solve this problem? How can India handle this?
This is a very, very sensitive issue and a very problematic issue. And it has come up, you see, sitting over here, we can only see that it's the poorest of the poor who are hit.
And nobody knew the scale of this. I think we are an inkling of how.
We knew the scale. As a matter of fact, I tell you, we knew the scale, but we thought that it is being managed. Unfortunately, there have been some difference in what was being reported and what was actually happening. People were getting their food and people were getting some subsidies, but how long can a person at that level of subsistence manage with only extra 10 kilos of rice and 1,000 rupees every month? So the impatience grew. slowly and slowly.
That was more important.
What in India we call the Bheda mentality. 10 of them started moving out, all of them started moving out. So it has become a big problem. Reason being the other aspect of the problem is that there's a confusion between the states. The two states, center is sitting very quietly, and I had put the states to sort out because a train has to start from one state and has to go to another state, point to point. And now what has happened is like Mamta Didi. Mamta Didi wants trains to sort of go out, taking out the immigrant laborers, but does not want labor trains to come in. Bengal has had only 8 or 9 trains, whereas they need 100 trains. That's what I am told. Similarly, Punjab. Similarly, Maharashtra. All these places where they have migrants over there, they want these migrants to go out, but they don't want their own people to come back. That is the main problem over there. Another thing is that what happens is that once these migrants enter, like a migrant train starts from Maharashtra and lands into UP. Now, Maharashtra has to test them and send them in. I was told that that Gurdwara people who had gone for that some Gurdwara festival had come back and they were not tested, and all these people started spreading COVID-19 in Punjab. Now, every state has to sort of do their testing before they let them go into their villages. So what has happened is that when trains come in, it is 1,700 people in a train. When buses come in, 10, 15 buses come in, all these people collect. And once they are in the state, you want to rush to your village. So all these places where people sort of are being held back by the police, there has been a violence. There has been a violence. People want to get to their state. People are getting restive, and all my sympathies are with them. But to manage that at that macro level, the number of people in India, it is a bit difficult. Government is finding it very embarrassing, and we feel very bad about it. They are being fed. They are being given shelter. But the restiveness, they want to go back home. Now, for the governments, it's a bit difficult because once these people go back home in their villages and any one of them has COVID, once it starts spreading in the villages, then it's gone. The way India has been able to protect itself from COVID is to keep people not to go to these vulnerable areas. So villages have generally been very clean from this. And once these villages start coming in without being tested, it will be a bad situation. So I think at that point, government has become a bit strict to ensure that people are tested before they at least enter the villages. So that is where the problem is. People are restive. It's their right to be angry. But I think there's some sort of patience from both sides will have to be exercised to bring things in control. I think governments will need to be more compassionate and have to sort of look into in a more compassionate way to this immigrants problem. It's really one of the darker spots of our good handling of COVID scenario.
Now, coming to Canada, I think they are slowly opening up the economy, Ontario especially. Yesterday, of course, the golf courses are open. Do you think it's a good idea, or are we ready for it now?
Being a golfer, I'll say that golfing can be done with social distancing. And even today, I got a message from a friend saying that one person per cart and that these sort of balls could be taken out without touching the pole or something. It's all being managed, and 4 people in 4 different carts, they managed. And you see, another thing is all these people, most of the golfers, I would say, are people who can afford golf, are belonging to a strata of society where they understand what things are.
Who are anyway protected, I think.
Yeah. But then things have to open anyway. I saw a place where the restaurant has opened with plexiglass between 2 sides of the table. Plexiglass before the cashier. And the waiter sort of more or less everything, masked and everything. People have started venturing because 2 months, it's been 2 months, and man is a social animal going by that old saying. People are getting a bit restive.
See, there is a problem.
People have to start working. Restaurants have to start working. Shops have to start working. I see a line in front of Best Buy. Yesterday, I took the car out wanted to could give the car also, the car battery also to be there, and went and drove around. There was a line in front of Best Buy, there was a line in front of Dollarama, there was a line in front of Home Depot. So people are going out once it's open. And if you see photographs of the beaches and all, people are going, but then people are doing some social distancing and managing. We'll have to see for the next 15 days what happens to the second wave. It has to arrive.
That is what is happening, isn't it?
Ultimately, we have to give chance to see what is happening. And a gradual, which is Canada is doing very well in sort of slowly opening it. And the social distancing norms are there. People, I see sometimes people, 15 people were together, we saw them. But then I give the benefit of doubt, they must be congregating on a weekend, whole from one family or something or the other, or a double bubble or something like that. But then people will have to be conscious and very, very, very diligent about forming the distancing norms. If they don't follow, then suddenly it will be reversed. If the numbers jump up, Trudeau or our friend Ford will have no option but to clamp back again.
I think now there are hospital beds are here. There are plenty of ICUs slots available. So I think maybe that's also one of the reasons that they're opening up slowly, so that if anything happens.
Yeah, quite true. I tell you, basically, COVID, Wuhan virus, or whatever, it's a flu. It's like any other flu which has been here. So this flu is here to stay, ultimately. And ultimately, maybe 2 or 3 months ahead, we'll find a remedy, a sort of a mitigating medicines, which will stop its getting out of control.
Yeah.
Then once that happens, then things can open. And as you say, the number of deaths have lessened down. And what you call the acid test for how well you have managed the COVID is the number of deaths. If there are less number of deaths, that means that you are more in control. But because even if people have had COVID, they would have managed it and have recovered from that. So again, it is like a flu. After 2 years, the vaccine will come in. So like we have flu vaccines over here, there'll be another virus in that flu vaccine which will control the COVID vaccine. It's this 1.5 years before that, till the vaccines are not there. Then before that, we'll have the remedies which come in. At this stage, we don't have the remedies even. So anybody who has it, he goes to the hospital and his symptoms are controlled so that the antivirus in the body develops and then they are sent back. So now Canada has a very good record of, say, 50% of their patients have been cured. Out of 78 or whatever it is, I'm told 32,000 have recovered and deaths have been only 5,000. In India, the total count is 96,000, out of which around 36,000 have recovered and only 3,000 have died. So these are figures which are very encouraging. If you look at USA, 1.4 million have been infected, 275,000 have recovered, 89,000 have died. So the percentage of people who have died. Now, USA, the majority of the thing is in New York. New York is a city where controlling
crowded
is really the situation. Like in Bombay, in India also, majority is in Maharashtra and in Dharavi. Now, knowing Dharavi, you and I know Dharavi, there are people in one chawl, 200 people live, 8 people in one room, they are using common toilets. How do you segregate them if one person gets it? And then another problem, the social problem over there is that people hide. If I get a COVID and I'm head of the family, then I'll hide it because I know that if I'm taken away, how will my family survive? So that is one area why you would have heard that women sort of kept the policemen or the medical officers away because they didn't want to come in and see the wage earner of the house being taken away. What will happen to them? So these are these socioeconomic conditions which aggravate. I deviated to Maharashtra, but in New York you have it because of the buildings and people really. How do you get out of a 98-story apartment without coming into a lift? And when you are lift, you really don't know who has been there, who will be. So these are stories which have cities which have their own stories. But then there are other places like Italy, Spain. How are they not able to manage? That's again the story of the two worlds. The Western world has not been able to organize it very well, whereas the Asians like China, Taiwan, Singapore, Vietnam, South Korea have been able to do it very well. So that is one thing which one will have to study, or our experts will have to study as to what happened, what did they do, which the Western countries were not able to do.
Hopefully, this COVID-19 will wane, the infection rate will come down and maybe disappear a short time, hopefully. And we'll have to wait until the next virus comes out from China.
We'll have to wait for the WHO investigation to be done after COVID is over. But let me tell you, the COVID virus will not go. It will be there. It will be there inside us, inside most of us, till we get like all other flu viruses. You get it and then you get immune to it. The only thing is you will have medicines that once you have it, then I take this hydrochloroquine or whatever it is, or Resmedir or whatever, a combination. All these remedies are coming up. It will come up, and ultimately we'll get some remedies. That I would think is about 2 or 3 months. Till that time, all of us have to be a bit cautious and secure and take care of ourselves, maintain social distancing, and then wait for the good time to come in. Next 15 days become very crucial.
To play golf again, and then go to play golf with 2 or 3 people in the cart.
No, actually there are only 2 people.
2 people, yeah.
But even if you are able to play with 1 people, it's fine. And there are people who walk also. I'm talking about myself who take a cart, but youngsters, they walk. As a matter of fact, the real golfers prefer to walk because by walking, you can see the whole terrain and you can really assess what is to be done. A true golfer always walks. All the tournaments, people generally walk and see whatever it is.
Anyway, thank you, Praveen. This is quite an interesting discussion, and I think we'll meet again next week and continue with this discussion series.
When the weather is much better, and the flowers start coming up, because
spring, yes.
Planting over here, and at this time, Victoria Day is considered to be the day of
planting. Yes.
All the best.
Thank you, and see you next week. Thanks.